Hiwa K, who is an Iraqi Kurdish artist now based in Berlin. And the project is basically a 70s and 80s musical revival band, as well as a neoliberalism study group. Basically, Hiwa has done the project in several locations before in other countries, but this is the first time actually it happens in the Arab world.
The Chicago Boys, a group of people were sent from Chile to Chicago to study neoliberal economy. And it was the first group where they implemented neoliberalism in South America, because South America was taking another approach, was more going to the left. So it started to be implemented there, and then it spread it around the world. So I'm talking about these 7 years of first from 73 to 80, I call it the pregnancy of the world with Thatcher and Reagan. And so how the world, all the changed after that. And also talking a lot about those Middle Eastern countries were more between these two poles, these two, like the Soviet and the West, and how when from the 80s all of those Middle Eastern countries like Iran, like Iraq, like Egypt, like all of those countries, Afghanistan, they started to turn their backs to the Soviets and start to open their doors to the American or the Western policies. So that what we are working on is we are doing a cover of some songs from that period, but the songs are not very directly referring to politics. So the lyrics are always about love, about very kitschy things, but the context which we try to study, we try to make a link always what was happening and why this song was a hype at that moment.
بشكل عام هاي الأغنية كانت بتمثل، أو اللي غنوها كانوا بيمثلوا نوعا ما صوت الناس، خلينا نحكي صوت الناس والشعب، الناس اللي هم الكادحين، خلينا نقول الناس اللي يمثلوا الطبقة الدنيا. هلا العالم هاي شكلوا عنا صورة إنه هدول هم اللي بيحكوا بصوتنا، لكن لما صارت الأحداث بسوريا صار في نوع من تغير المواقف، أي شيء كنا نتوقع منهم كان عكسه تماماً، إنه كانوا هم مع النظام بشكل عام، ضد أي ضد ثورات الشعوب، ضد المبادئ اللي كانوا بيحكوا فيها بالأساس. في كثير فنانين بسوريا غيروا الأفكار اللي كانوا بيحكوا فيها، يعني اكتشفنا إنه هي كانت زي ماشية مع النظام كتنفيس، يعني ينفسوا عن الشعب.
Yes, I think it's always we try to approach certain kind of events through personal anecdotes, but we, as a cover band, we want to do through music, of course. And this personal anecdote, which is how it's related to that song, we just take those love songs, but what was going on at that time. For example, the song we covered, Chiki Chiki Baba, about one guy is going to Saudi Arabia from Lebanon to make money and come back to marry his beloved. And we talk like Saudi Arabia after the 50s, they had a lot of extra petrol dollars in their banks. And at that time, 1973, we talk about what happened at that time when we study the history a bit, and we will see like the World Trade Center was built. The state wanted to re-centralize New York as a center of finances, and at that time the price of oil was very high. So the states, what they did, they threatened the Saudi guys. They said, the price of oil is very high, so we could invade you now and to put the prices down, but you have one chance to invest your extra dollars in our banks. So it's not something I say, it's history, we all know that. And so the Saudi Arabia did that at that time of the song was going on. And that's at that time, because there was a very big crisis in '73. We know that there was a very big crisis that capitalism was really hurt from everywhere. So it says the Saudi Arabia, they had a very big contribution saving them at that time. So this song is not related, doesn't have a relation to that World Trade Center and this whole event thing, but has an affair.
What's also quite important is that usually, we're not taught our political history in school properly, people just memorize these lessons. So, and big chunks of our problematic histories are kind of deleted. So in a way, I think Chicago Boys, through music, is trying to fill in these gaps, but also trying to create a personal connection between us and these histories. And it is also a unique learning opportunity because there is no one teacher, We're all kind of sharing.
Musically, it offers a space for young musicians to get together and play music and get to know each other. And I don't think there are many informal spaces in Jordan that do that, or projects that offer this opportunity to different kinds of musicians, professionals and non-professionals. By looking back at the 70s and the 80s, speaking about the music that was made then and thinking of the historical and cultural and economic context of that time, we're kind of comparing that period to now. So we're talking about the different labor economies from 70s and 80s to now, and thinking about migrant workers and how Jordan is a country that is very much reliant on migrant workers, actually. We invited an economist and a researcher to give a talk about the situation of migrant workers in Jordan, and talk about their rights or the lack of their rights in Jordan, and to think about the policies in Jordan that marginalize them. So as part of the project, we visited Al Hassan Workers Center and jammed with the musicians there, and thinking about migrant workers from Asia, Southeast Asia, and also from Egypt, and also thinking about Jordanian labor that traveled away from Jordan and went to the Gulf in order to make their living and then had to come back, and how that affected the economy of Jordan.
The courage that these workers show is really beyond belief for most of us. These workers mostly come from villages. They have very little education. They probably haven't gone more than 10 kilometers from their village, let alone to a major city, let alone getting on an airplane and flying to a place that they have no idea about, and they get off that plane. 36 hours later, they're working in a factory with 5,000 other workers or 2,000 other workers under conditions that they never could even imagine. The courage that they have to do this and the desperation in terms of the need for them to earn money for their family is really, for me, remarkable. I mean, most of these workers send 75% of what they earn back to their families. In a place like Bangladesh, where many of these migrant workers come from, $180 a month is 3 times the minimum wage in Bangladesh. So the remittance that these workers send to their families can change lives. And it gives their families an opportunity to maybe send a kid to school. It gives their families an opportunity maybe to upgrade housing and actually get electricity. So it's a tremendous impact despite the difficulties and the challenges that these workers face.
Yes, it is a big challenge here because different nationality here and different culture and different food, everything, So yeah, this is a big challenge. We come here to work, but anyway, we can learn their culture, different culture.
These workers are sacrificing for their families, so for them, it's a struggle. It takes a lot of courage.
All time miss you, my husband. My husband, Bangladesh, I miss you. My mother, son, my sister, my brother and father. I miss you.
You can't find a job in Bangladesh?
No, that's why I come Jordan. Working service QC supervisor.
It's a question of a global marketplace, and clearly there is an economic system at play that encourages certain types of behavior, but I think we also have to be honest with ourselves, and there are most of us in the world want to pay $10 for a t-shirt and not $15 for a t-shirt, and if we could pay $8 we would. And we try to avoid thinking about what that means for the people who produce our clothing. So, a lot of it's our own responsibility as we become more consumer-oriented and we want to buy more and wear new and better things. And the global market, is responding to the demands of the consumer.
We decided to invite Chicago boys in Amman because within the scope of what Makan is doing, our emphasis is on collectives or projects that are encouraging some kind of collective conversation.
My approach is also to make this to try to create or to reactivate this kind of informal spheres which we had and we lost it slowly in this late capitalism. This kind of gathering in tea houses and talk about politics, talk about culture, talk about philosophy, and exchange books, and that's disappearing.
And since also Chicago Boys was never happened in the Arab world, it was quite important that it happened in Jordan because it's probably one of the few places where it could happen, while different nationalities also can access it from the region, whether it is Iraqis, Syrians, Palestinians, Jordanians. So actually even like Jordan as a starting point for the project is an interesting one politically at the moment, given what's going on.